Thank you. This is Victor Gao. I'm based in Beijing. It is a great pleasure to attend this very important discussion. I think I agree with the professor who made excellent remarks about the legal definition of genocide, the required elements, and how they mismatch with the realities on the ground in Xinjiang, for example. The point I want to make is that it's very obvious that the United States and several other Western countries may not want to bring a real case of law in the court against China about genocide. I think they want to weaponize it, as the professor correctly said it, and try to confuse the world's perception of what's happening in Xinjiang by using or misusing the term genocide and create the impression of genocide existing in Xinjiang, regardless of whether there are sufficient evidences being produced and being verified in the court. I think in that case, this is actually very dangerous, especially because the United States now views China as an enemy or as a competitor, and they want to find excuses where they can achieve their goal of holding China down. And I think using this genocide term as a weapon against China is probably, from the US perspective, a very convenient way to do this. Now, I studied law in the United States. I actually spent some time looking at the US wars against the native Indians. Every time when the United States would launch a major war campaign against the American Indians, they would issue announcements and proclamations about how evil the American Indians were, raping the white ladies and killing the white babies, for example. And then they march to exterminate the American Indians. Now, the American way of dealing with the American Indians is truly a genocide. And I think we need to fully acknowledge that. And I think the American way of using the term genocide against China is to create this warmongering attitude against China and mislead as many people or as many countries as possible that if they want to launch a war against China or launch a major confrontation against China, they operate under the banner of anti-genocide in China. This is truly a very dangerous situation. Now, on the other hand, if we look at Xinjiang in particular, there is no doubt that radicalization has happened in Xinjiang. I have called it a direct spillover of the 20-year war in Afghanistan launched by the United States and NATO countries. And the spillover is particularly serious in Pakistan on the one hand and China's Xinjiang region on the other hand. So in a sense, many of the problems which have happened in Xinjiang, especially involving our Uyghur brothers and sisters, could actually be explained by analyzing the increasing level of radicalization involving terrorism, extremism, and separatism in Xinjiang, rather than, for example, using the misnomer or the complete misrepresentation of genocide. Now, another thing I want to venture out for your discussion is that if we really very much focus on the discussion of genocide, we actually fall into the trap laid by the United States, actually, because there is no genocide. As the professor mentioned, if we look at the number of people, there is no reduction of the number. The Uyghur people have more than doubled ever since 1950, and in recent years, the increase in the population has been steady. And the increase of the Uyghur population has been higher than the increase of other minorities in Xinjiang and has been much higher than the national average in Xinjiang. Now, if we shift the focus to genocide or whether there is genocide or not, then I think we fall into this trap because I think China may be in a position of not be able to defend itself. Why? Because what the US has created is not a legal case in a court. They are really presenting this as an already established the situation in front of mankind, or in front of the Western countries in particular, try to raise this fanfare against China by using genocide as a weapon against China. Therefore, in this connection, may I also suggest that while it is very important for all of us to further analyze and define the exact meanings of genocide, whether it applies to Xinjiang in particular, for example, we also need to go one step further. That is, we want to go inside the real heart of the United States, why they use genocide, which is legally, truly indefensible. And they cannot win if there is a case in a court. But why they still want to keep talking about it, why they want to mobilize other countries in the West, try to pin China down about genocide. I think we should come up with an indices of information about the growth of the population, for example, the level of radicalization, and the number of terrorist attacks, the number of innocent people who have been killed and wounded in these terrible terrorist attacks in Xinjiang over the years, and shift the focus to the realities on the ground in Xinjiang. Now, I said this because I think talking about genocide is probably one of the most serious things you can talk about between countries. I always say the real accusation of a country guilty of genocide is tantamount to declaration of war by one country against the other, because this is truly the most serious crimes you can imagine involving any country or any nation or any civilization. And this is completely not true if we compare the situation in Xinjiang. So I think while I'm very eager to learn from all of you about how you think about genocide, I'm also a little bit traumatized because I'm very much aware that the United States decision makers have laid a trap for China to fall into, and we need to be aware of genocide as genocide, but also genocide or the accusation of genocide as a trap. And we need to be fully aware of these two different things. And I think the United States is more driving for using genocide as a trap for China to fall into. Thank you very much.